Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to NDC TV. I am your host, Sharufa Walker, founder, entrepreneur, building dope solutions in Web3. And we are here to be able to capture this historic moment of governance happening right now with the NDC. The polls are open. I know you all are excited. We are excited too. We are doing some amazing one-on-ones today to be able to talk to your candidates, talk to the people that are running in these three houses with these 29 seats, 29 votes. Sorry about that. But let's jump right into it. We have Alejandro here today. Alejandro, how are you?
Hello, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So, Alejandro, we're just going to get this thing started. Tell us about who you are and what you're running for.
Thank you. So this is a long story. I've tried to capture as much as possible in like 50 plus podcast episodes, 2 hours long each. But the too long didn't read
It's just
is
20 minutes here, though.
I know super quick. I got involved with the near ecosystem very grassroots in early 2021, literally on the Telegram chats, Discord channels, and I was sort of the geek doing research and then sharing Twitter threads or like explaining things to newbies. Started getting noticed, and it was a very organic, I guess, like ascend. Despite what people think, I've always been on the community side, never really been on the near foundation or any official institution. I had the joy of sitting in the marketing DAO and assessing over 700 applications over 18 months. I was an early employee at Metapool and also looked at after the business development and community expansion there. And yeah, now I am ready to step up and help the NDC get that solid base off the ground. And I'm running for the Transparency Commission.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit more about like what ultimately brought you to NEAR. We know you've been here since 2021, correct?
Yes.
And prior to that, what was it about NEAR that drew you to the ecosystem?
Yeah, so back in the day, like my formal education is in the law. I thought it was the best way to have a positive impact in the world. And at some point that fizzles away, you sort of realize that lawyers are, hired guns. And I got into Ethereum in early 2016. So we actually started Ethereum Melbourne, where I live. And it was very interesting to see that like super quick rise of the ICOs and then the bubble bursting. What I figured out back in the day was that it's an amazing concept of decentralization, of empowering people, of unstoppable code. But if it can't scale, we're very limited. So in 2020, I created a layer one thesis. I started exploring Solana, Avalanche, Phantom, Near, and a couple others. And what really drew me into Near, I kept like doubling up every few weeks, was a user experience. It's interesting to say that now because now we have real tools that we can use that really embody that power to create really good user experiences. At the time, it was a philosophy, it was a vibe, it was like the vision and the belief that it could be done. But yeah, I do believe that, as a non-technical person, you got to put the users first. And if you can't pick someone up from the street and onboard them, then it's not good enough. So we're definitely still building towards that mission. But yeah, I do feel that Near has a unique vantage point in that area.
So that's interesting because I think that it's important to have a diverse pool of people, technical and non-technical. And so thinking about like what you bring to the table for the Transparency Commission, tell us a little bit about what is it that you're desiring to accomplish within this first term of V1 governance? What would you like to see happen within the 6 months in this position?
Well, I would like to buy a house. Yeah, I like your
Don't
point
know if that
about.
can happen.
Yeah, I do. I'm a house sitting at the moment. I look after people's pets. That's the bear market for you.
Okay.
I like your point about transparency because I feel like I bring a really interesting yin and yang. I grew up in Venezuela. I've got a master's in corruption and like stolen elections. There's something about being very close to what evil looks like that makes you very proactive, very resilient, very thoughtful, how to avoid dark patterns. On the flip side, I studied law in Australia, which is, very bureaucratic, very admin heavy. They strive towards efficiency. What I'd like to see in the first 6 months is making sure that we're able to put all the processes in place so that it won't matter who gets elected in the next cycle. The processes and the system itself is, bulletproof. It's resilient. It works the way it is intended. At the moment, there are still a lot of conversations, many known unknowns. There are some very naive people, perhaps with different backgrounds, coming in, more idealistic, utopian, maybe more into the technology. So yeah, I just want to make sure that if we remove any names and any faces, we have a system that is fair, efficient, and that can really grow the ecosystem where we need it to be.
Yeah, but how do we ensure that the system is equitable, right? Like coming from Venezuela, knowing the corruption of certain political regimes, right? How do we ensure that the governance will be equitable across the board? In the desire to be able to establish a foundation that ultimately wouldn't be changing after 6 months. Like you said, that you would like to envision something that would be solid enough to carry through to the next one. But if we arrive to the table kind of baked in with our biases, how do we ensure that we're not keeping people out from the beginning?
100%, and that would be an example of a dark pattern, or like a downward spiral. If you have a small community because of the failures of the past, then you need to be careful not to have, it's a survivor bias. The few people that are left create a system for more people like them. So we almost have to reverse that trend. We need to be able to define what is a North Star for the ecosystem. We need to be able to define opportunities for people to get involved. If somebody joins the ecosystem today, can they have the same opportunities for growth and networking that I had 2 years ago? And then most importantly, we need to define ways to measure, merit, reputation, make sure that people are acknowledged in that progression. One of the things that I believe need to change going forward would be something like the voter group. If the voter group is people that have joined very recently to the ecosystem, it is much easier to miss a lot of that nuance. Maybe they won't be able to perceive as easily people that have been doing a lot of work in the background. And I think that definitely making sure that the system entrenches that strive towards excellence, like letting people know that they're going to be rewarded if they build a good product or if they build a strong community, as opposed to just networking the right crowds and maximizing for more short-term gain.
Yeah, so you're speaking about the scalability, right, of the ecosystem. And so expand a little bit more about what do you envision near scalability kind of value proposition?
That's great. So Near has a strength and a weakness. Our strength is that we can onboard a very large corporation, millions of users, millions of transactions, and the network doesn't budge, which means that naturally the Near Foundation is going for these large deals. And in a very strange way, Near is going to keep growing, even if the NDC is on the wrong direction. That is an extremely dangerous thing to realize, because we must be very careful not to take these wins from, say, large players like Sweatcoin or Cosmos in Singapore as wins of the NDC. There needs to be attribution as to what we're doing and the impact that that's having. So the challenge with that side of scalability is, as I said, separating the technology from the community scalability. There's two interesting patterns. When I joined the marketing DAO for the first time, it was 51% controlled by the Near Foundation, and over time, they granted more and more power to the community. If you look at the current candidates for the NDC, and especially the current candidates leading, we're basically going back to the core Near founding team, the people that pushed the code into mainnet. So there does seem to be a challenge there with either growing an organic community, who joined 6 months ago, that has really risen, and or creating those mechanisms for them to earn people's trust, maybe visibility, maybe accountability. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And so Tell me something about those solutions and those challenges that you see when it comes down to the organic growth, like you just mentioned.
So the good news is that a lot of these ideas have been discussed, and I would say they've been tabled to be implemented after V1 comes live. Some of the challenges and limitations were more technical. We just didn't have the time or the technology ready in time. I think of ways of optimizing, for instance, the criteria for voting. And some of the criteria was like, how old is the account? How many transactions? Have they done these? Have they done that? But I think more about what are the type of behaviors that we want to encourage over the next 6 months. So, for instance, for me, something huge would be let's create a culture of early adopters. Like everyone in the ecosystem now, let's give them a lot of credit and standing in the ecosystem if they use a product early, but more importantly, if they provide feedback. Basically, we can have an army of user testers. And if we do that, I'm sure that we could see our products evolve a lot, and there's going to be a lot of discovery there. So that would be an example of the sort of behaviors that would be available to anyone. And you slowly start to hopefully kick a flywheel of more product discovery, more growth. It improves faster. People can rise in the ecosystem into leadership positions. One key aspect that I love about it, and it's maturing really fast, would be the proof of doing NFTs. So hopefully we can have many entities in the ecosystem that have the power and the trust to issue these. So for instance, Ref Finance would have the power to issue a proof of early user or proof of whatever, solid user feedback. Small things spread out widely that really enable you to do whatever you're best suited at. Could be great content creation, could be art, could be coding, user testing, whatever. But yeah, make sure that you are noticed and we can build upon each other.
Yeah, I think that's powerful because having a solid entry point, especially for new Web3 users, right, and new near users, they need to be able to be onboarded in a positive way and have a solid track that they can follow to really be successful in the ecosystem. So, thinking about the three houses, tell us a little bit about why you chose to choose the Transparency Commission.
Yes, so I've been following the original inception of the NDC, Elias vision, and then its evolution. And I'm very much aligned with the original vision. So House of Merit should be people that have, I guess, larger achievements, usually founders, early core engineers. In my view, it usually requires like deeper knowledge about both the ecosystem, but like your personal experience as well. The Council of Advisors, more operational heavy to me. It's more senior. I would probably look at that as more of a safeguard, like big money management, which hasn't traditionally been my role, or at least I waited to the very end to nominate, and there were very good candidates on both of those houses. Transparency Commission is very interesting to me because I've got that legal background, so a lot of these processes and admin work, structure comes. I wouldn't say it comes naturally to me. I'd rather be doing product, but I'm much more familiar with. And the interesting thing is that where the House of Merit and the Council of Advisors are much more iterative, there's a lot more room for creating something unique. I feel like the Transparency Commission is much more of a legacy institution. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to get super creative. We literally just have to adopt the best practices. Due process, fairness, accountability processes. So yeah, I felt like that would be where I can add the most value now, and also probably the most important one to get right, as it is being designed as the backstop if anything goes wrong in the other two. So
Definitely there are checks and balances. And I can see, with that law background, how the House of Transparency is a good fit for you. But just a question, do you think that having three houses in this first round of V1 governance is enough?
enough too much or too little?
You tell me.
I have this horrible thing of being able to argue both sides. I did not like, maybe still don't, that the NDC is pulling in all of our best contributors away from the work that makes them great. I think that we would be at a great loss if some of these, 100x engineers spend any less time coding what we think it's great and what has gotten us here, just to dedicate to like crazy shit fights on Telegram. That would be bad. By the same token, I think that there are many deficiencies or areas to fill in the ecosystem, and we need all hands on deck. So it's been really reassuring to see, great candidates come forward. I'm really excited to be able to work with many of these candidates, and hopefully in 6 months' time, we'll know what the workload is and how much we can achieve. And ideally, we can be very agile in spinning out as many groups as needed to really be able to step up to the challenge. Probably that would be an exercise of reverse engineering what we really want to see. For instance, we've had historically creatives and marketing DAO. I'd love to see much more support, like a builder DAO, product DAO. Just get people building. We really need to experiment a lot more with this incredible tech that we've been given. So yeah, does that
Yeah,
answer your question?
no, absolutely. I think that, we need to be able to just ensure that we have more options, right? And it sounds like you've been thinking about this a lot, along with all of your contributions. So let the voters know why vote for you. Like, if there's one thing that they should know about you, like, let them know.
Yeah, I've been around for a long time. A lot of people talk to me. I think I'm able to get a really good pulse on the different interests and groups in the ecosystem. And I'm here to trying to make it work, make sure that everyone has a fair chance to prove their worth. As very wise Albus Dumbledore said once, help will always be given to those who deserve it. And yeah, I think I've got that legal background and experience that it's somewhat rare in Web3, and in many times it's a liability. But yeah, I'm really here to make sure that the Transparency Commission resembles a proper functioning legal body and not a utopian circus product of the imagination of the young and free.
Yeah, we definitely need a wide range of voices within the Transparency Commission and also in the other houses. So, in just thinking about why Web3, right? Just in general, so the voters know a little bit more about who Alejandro is. Why did you choose Web3? Why did you choose this transition into Web3 from Web2?
Well, Web3 clicks very easily for people in like developing countries. I first came across Bitcoin in 2013. It made perfect sense for me. It's about removing intermediaries. It's about enabling people to reach their maximum potential without having to ask for permission. And when you look at technology, we've had incredible growth, most of it accruing to one state in one country. And we've created companies and individuals that are more powerful than have the countries in the world. So I really think that Web3 has the potential to uncap growth around the world, to distribute it more evenly, opportunities. And yeah, I'm here for the long run.
Well, that's exciting. So, Alejandro, thank you so much. He's running for the House of Transparency. Best of luck to you. Please go out and vote. We have until September 22nd. Your voice, your vote matters. Get to the polls and just know that we are here to support you. Is coming live and direct from NDC TV. Thank you again.
Thanks. Thank you. That was amazing.
Bye.